I bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night wherever you're watching this transmission. This is a very important and very emergency transmission of Mike in the Night. It's very important. We got a gentleman on the line right now who's waiting, who will be on in a few seconds here. And this is very, very, very important. It is a Canadian who is in Colombia right now, and I don't know if anyone's been paying attention to what has been going on in Colombia. So I'm going to throw up a few images here, and I'm going to get him on in a second. There it is. And Colombia's been, apparently there's empty shelves, there's empty this, there's empty that. So we're going to get our guest on right now. Lawrence, are you there, buddy?
I am here.
Lawrence, welcome to Mike in the Night Emergency Podcast. How are you?
I'm doing well as can be expected, given the crazy situation in this world. It's kind of I have to watch my language here, but it's kind of I'll use the Spanish word fracaso, which you understand that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And here we are. We're stuck here. We got I'm registered as a Canadian abroad here, and we got an email from the Canadian Embassy today saying that there is going to be a general strike tomorrow. The country has been mostly shut down here since April 28th, I think, and it's reached a point in the cities, from what I understand, and I've not gone into the cities recently, but from what I understand, grocery store shelves are empty, which I guess puts folks in the city who do not have readily available access to freshly grown produce and so forth. It is, I'm guessing, putting them in a bad way, although I've not heard from anybody. Where I am, the grocery store shelves here are kind of empty too. I'm in a small rural town, and we have a housekeeper that we send on shopping errands, and she's having trouble gathering stuff up. However, if the grocery stores are completely empty here, we have locally grown chickens and fruit and plantains, and we'll have eggs and rice and fruit. I mean, we won't be eating gourmet style, but we'll survive.
What will Canadians do if Canadians living in these high-rise condos in Vancouver? What are they going to do if the grocery shelves become empty?
Well, I don't know.
I'm just being sarcastic.
Phone the Communist Party in China. I don't know what they would do. One reason why I'm staying right here is that there's no intercity bus travel here. The town where I'm in, the protesters have blocked entry and exit into the town. And the next town over, they've blocked entry and exit into that town.
This is exactly how it started in Venezuela.
Well, yeah, and the truck drivers here have united themselves with the protesters. And for those of you who are old enough, go back to 1973 and remember what happened in Chile when Salvador Allende was the president there. The one thing that was most instrumental above all others in bringing his government down was that the truck drivers stopped moving stuff, and so the shelves of stores of all products and services basically emptied out, and then the military came in and took them out. From what I understand, what's going on in Venezuela, yes, the truck drivers have stopped moving around there, but I think that's because they have, 10,000% inflation a year or a month, or I don't know what it is, but it's ridiculous.
Okay, so I got the email here that was sent to you by Canada, the Canadian Embassy, okay? So the email's here, guys. I'm just gonna read it to you guys. The little part here. Dear Canadian, you are receiving this email because you are registered with the Government of Canada's Registration of Canadians Abroad Service. Following Following calls for major labor unions, thousands of protesters have been taking to the streets in major Colombian cities since around April 28th. A new national strike has been called for May 5th. These demonstrations are likely to continue. Protests often include roadblocks, have the potential to suddenly turn violent and lead to significant disruptions in traffic, public transportation, and may lead to airport closures. Canadians should remain vigilant at all times, avoid all demonstrations and large public gatherings. Follow the advice of authorities and monitor local media. We recommend that Canadians get in touch with their family members and emergency contacts in Canada to confirm their whereabouts and well-being, even if they have not been affected by this event. If you are no longer in Colombia, send an email to this. So basically, this is very, you've registered with the Canadian abroad or whatnot, and then now they're telling you, sending this emergency email to let you know. So let's go over some of the headlines we're seeing here. This is from a couple of hours ago. So they're saying, this is what they're saying, okay, Lawrence?
Yep.
In Colombia, 19 are killed in pandemic-related protests. The demonstrations over proposed... So they always throw pandemic in there, Lawrence, no matter what. Even though it has to do with the tax overhaul, it's pandemic.
Yes.
So what is happening there? What are you hearing on the ground there in Colombia?
Well, from they have I think the main source of government revenue here is what would be our equivalent, or the Canadian equivalent of the GST, which I think is still only 5%. Here it's 19%. Okay.
Holy crap. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a consumption tax, which most dramatically affects people in the lower income bracket. And you take the great majority of I don't know if it's the majority, but it's a huge number of people doing menial jobs here, whether it's farm labor or, in the case of, say, our cook housekeeper. I pay her every day. I don't write her a monthly paycheck. They're living day to day. Mm-hmm. And I think of our cook housekeeper. I'm paying her probably about 30% more than the national minimum wage. She's happy to work here. She has very light duties, but I still nevertheless pay her every day. Or I take a caddy at my golf club. I'll pay him. I just got a message from my son who lives in Victoria. He says, "I hope you're staying quietly in your town," and I'll send him a message back and say yes. But so for a tax increase like this, it really affects the lower income people, of which there are lots here. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, and they're angry, and I don't blame them, because quite honestly, I think that this is I think the powers that be, the likes of Bill Gates, who's going through a divorce now. I don't know if you all heard that. But,
do you think we're going to feel the repercussions of this divorce?
Who knows? Isn't it funny? I mean, he I guess Alan Tipper Gore, haven't they split up? I guess trying to save the world is pretty hard in a marriage, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's, people who listened to Al Gore, 15 years ago or so?
Yeah. Well, Florida should be underwater right now.
Yeah. Well, it should have been before. Yeah. But right at the time he was telling us that Florida would be underwater by now, he himself was buying oceanfront property. So. Hello, folks. You going to believe this nonsense? And now Canada is we require a vaccine passport to enter the country. We have to take experimental, unproven drugs to enter the country. I heard some woman in Nashville, Tennessee, who took the Pfizer jab and ended up in the hospital paralyzed.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of reports on that. So let's switch over real quick back to the demonstration over proposed tax. So you're saying that the GST there is 18%?
19%. During the pandemic, mm-hmm. they did, for restaurants and so forth, to try to bring the economy back, they eliminated the IVA, they call it IVA. which in Spanish would translate to impuesto de valor agregado, the aggregate value.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so the latest I read is 19%, although I don't notice it, quite honestly, because everything is built into the price. You don't see it. And out in the rural part of the country, there's quite a large cash economy. So quite honestly, I don't know whether I'm paying it or not, because I pay for most things with cash.
Okay, I'm getting a message here from Edgardo, who's in Bogota, Colombia. He's telling me, "Hola, Mike, buenas tardes. Tenemos muchos problemas aquí dentro de Bogotá y tenemos mucha falta de comida en comprando las compras, no tenemos mucha comida para comprar." So this is from Edgardo here in Colombia, who's messaging me live right now, telling me that there's a lack of groceries in the supermarkets in Bogota, Colombia.
Well, Bogota is a city of what? 9 million, 10 million people? Not many farms within Bogota. Okay?
And if there's no trucks going in,
nothing's being delivered. Exactly. And now from right around my golf club, which is in Armenia, my fellow members there tell me they can't even buy gasoline. So I guess the trucks aren't getting gasoline either. So until the fuel trucks start delivering some fuel, the delivery trucks for products are not going to start moving. But you know, in a sense too, I have to admire the people here. They don't take this laying down. Canadians are just a bunch of ignorant pussies. I mean, look at them. Look at who Canada elected. You know, a part-time drama teacher who never in his life ran so much as a Kool-Aid stand.
A book.
And that's our great leader. Okay, so not that things are great here. I think maybe we're surrounded by idiots here, but in Canada, if you're surrounded by idiots, you're cold at the same time. At least here, if I'm surrounded by idiots, I'm not cold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I hear you. So this is footage coming in from it looks like it's this does not look like Bogota. It looks like it's coming from Medellin. Let me just find out where this is coming from here. And they're not telling us where this is, but this is somewhere definitely in Colombia. It's outside of the big church there in the center square. That must be Bogota then.
Well, it could be a city by the name of Buga, which is Buga, which is what in normal circumstances, I think about an hour and a half by car from here. And that's kind of a touristy spot in Colombia where people go there to see the big church. But I'm sure that's not the only place in the country where that happens too. So it's
so this tax and tariffs and goods and services. So it's going to be in place. This is what they're saying for the pandemic era. Cash subsidies intended to help struggling people that have the virus.
Yeah, well. You know, there are very simple solutions to the virus. One thing we can buy over the counter here is something called ivermectin. And from what I understand from my contacts in Canada, you can't even get a doctor to prescribe it there.
Mm-hmm.
Here we buy it over the counter, and it basically works as a prophylaxis, where if you take it, the way it works is you buy the stuff, you take it in drops. And for every kilo of your body weight, you put a drop of this stuff in a glass of water. So if you weigh 80 kilos, you put 80 drops in a glass of water and you drink it. And if you do that, say on a Sunday morning, you do the same thing the following Sunday morning, 1 week later, and you have what is effectively a 3-month prophylaxis against COVID. You will not get sick. Nobody who's doing that is getting sick. The problem is, of course, that a lot of people here don't know about that. But my wife has taken it. She has, 6 sisters and 3 brothers in this town. They've all been sick. She's taken ivermectin. She has not been sick. Same with our cook housekeeper. I gave the ivermectin prophylaxis to her and her family. Nobody's been sick.
We got Ellen Howick in the comments saying Canada doesn't exist anymore. And it is really scary what's happening, especially with empty store shelves. I'm getting another message here from Rodrigo.
Where?
from Rodrigo. He's in
Rodrigo, okay.
He's in Bogota. He's saying, "Sí, es verdad, Mike. Tenemos mucha falta de comida aquí. No tenemos agua y qué más." It says no tenemos agua y no tenemos frutas. Sorry, he doesn't have. There's no fruits. Yeah.
Yeah. We have those here because they're locally grown. So we can get things like mandarins and fresh oranges and stuff like that are locally grown. It's they're not Florida quality oranges, but I mean you can get some food in you. We're still able to get fresh eggs, so we can get basic proteins and starch and fruits here. Still, I don't know how much longer that's going to be, but.
So, guys, we got Lawrence here live from Colombia, who's on the ground in Colombia, that's explaining to us what's going on down there. He received an email for nationwide strike day notice from the Canadian Embassy. So he's got that Canadian Embassy. He forwarded me the email for me to read it. I took a look at it, and it's scary, people. What's happening? The empty store shelves. So how long is it going to take for this? I mean, if this reaches Mexico, I mean, okay, let's start from the beginning. Is this engineered? Did they purposely allow this to happen to let people run amok so they could even have stricter and harder lockdowns? Do you think this is engineered?
Well, I think the whole pandemic is engineered. It's pretty much a fact that the virus is man-made, and the reason we can say that it's man-made is that they say it escaped from a lab. If it were natural, it would not have been confined to a lab in the first place. Like say, if it were natural, it'd be out there in nature, like say the yellow fever virus or the dengue virus, which is here. Okay, that's out there in nature.
Francisco Alvarez is saying they are point blank shooting people. They are shooting people right here. And the article's going on. UN Rights Office condemns Colombia crackdown on protests. The UN says Colombian police in Cali opened fire on protesters sparked by government tax proposal. Okay, continue.
Okay, well, yes, I heard from my, I have a Canadian friend who lives in Cali, and he told me that people there have been shot and killed. Yes, that's what he told me. Yeah. So what can I do? I can just sit here quietly and eat my fruit and drink my coffee. I'm not going to go out there and look for trouble. So.
Okay, this just up. Colombia's president withdrawing tax reforms after mass protest.
I've heard that yesterday, and now, but I think some of the protesters are demanding either his resignation or some of his ministers, or maybe both. I don't know. I don't watch the news here. I don't watch the news anywhere because I don't believe any of it. I think it's all BS.
Right. I don't believe in it. Yeah, anywhere you watch the news, they're always trying to sell you something, not tell you something, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So tell us about your ordeal trying to get into Canada from Colombia. You tried to get in, and it was like a nightmare trying to get it connecting. And you don't. And now, what do you think of this, guys? This is up on the news right now, posted by the New York Times. Canadians will require using a vaccine passport for entry.
Yeah.
So I know what your stance is on the vaccine. How are you going to get into the country if they require this?
I guess I'm not going back. I'm not going to allow some experimental thing to be stuck into me. You hear all sorts of horror stories about secondary effects that people are having. I don't know if I was online when or on air when I mentioned this, but the story about the lady in Nashville, Tennessee, who took the Pfizer vaccine and ended up in the hospital paralyzed. And now Pfizer, you may not have seen this, Pfizer has announced that we're going to need a vaccine 6 months after the second shot. So we're going to require boosters all the time. Canadians, 94% in favor of this. They're just a bunch of poodles, and they're poodles and profit centers for the pharmaceutical industrial complex. And I think, I just look at the Canadian electorate. I look at if 94% of Canadians, I don't believe that, but a lot of Canadians are in favor of the vaccine, and I just look at that and I shake my head and say, well, you can't fix stupid, can you? You just can't do it. Yeah. It's an unfixable problem. You cannot fix stupid. So if that's what is required, then I'm never going back.
Wow, that is scary. Some scary stuff. You can't go back to your country and see your family in Canada. You're retired. You worked your life. You contributed to the infrastructure. You know what I'm saying. You worked all your life in Canada. Now it's like coming back in is going to be an absolute nightmare. So I guess you're going to just stick around in Colombia.
Yeah, well, last year when the Wu flu, when they announced the crackdown here, it was in the middle of March, and it was on a Tuesday, and I did have a flight booked to leave Colombia on April 1st at that time, and I tried frantically to get a flight out of here between the Tuesday of that week and the Friday of that week, and it was just impossible. Okay. And then you couldn't even get through to the airlines. If you went online, the websites weren't working. You couldn't get to a travel agent. I mean, nothing was working. And then they shut down flights. They did have some humanitarian flights. They were leaving from Bogota, but the problem was to get from here to Bogota to get the flight because there was no intercity bus service. We couldn't even get on a bus to go to the next town.
Oh my
God!
So
I thought, okay, yeah. So I thought, well, okay, here I'm comfortable. I might as well wait this out, but it looks like I'll be waiting. If they're going to carry on with this stupidity of requiring a vaccine passport, I guess I'm down here for the rest of my life. I'm not going to go back.
Wow. So you're stuck in, well, I wouldn't say you're stuck in a bad way. Like Colombia right now is looking at, we're seeing some major civil unrest there, but I guess it comes, it's happening. But if this is the extent of it, I mean, empty store shelves in the major cities, it might push people out to the farmland or to farm. If this becomes like Venezuela, it might get out of hand quick. Or if the government needs to smooth things over and start giving away free stuff, then maybe it might fix the problem temporarily. You know what I'm saying? But 16 protesters and 1 policeman have been killed in demonstrations since last Wednesday, but the figure doesn't include reports of deaths in Cali on Monday, which the UN is still trying to confirm. So,
oh well, fuck. Pardon my French. The UN. I mean, they're part of the globalist cabal too. I don't believe anything they tell us either. So, it's. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess, what can I say? Maybe I'm coming down, maybe I'm going to starve to death here. Maybe I'm coming down to the end of my life here. I can't complain. I've had a good life. And I've certainly had, in the last year, I've certainly had a better life dealing with this scamdemic than most people in North America have had. And isn't it odd that, states like Florida and Texas are wide open?
Yeah, they've been wide open for ages, and Florida's been open for so long now. And it's like, yeah, we're not well, those are conservative states, right? But once Amerifornia comes, and America becomes fully like California, it's over.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, it gets back to what I said before. You can't really fix stupid, can you? I mean, it's yeah.
All right, let me get that article up for you, so you could Canada will require. Let me bring it up, the article fresh. I have a screenshot of it here, so we're gonna go over this.
I googled it, Mike. I googled it, and yeah, you're right. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Require COVID vaccine.
Just Google it. Just say vaccine passports for Canada. Basically, we have to take Bill Gates' jab. I guess we have to help pay for Bill Gates' divorce. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, this is dangerous because Bill Gates, isn't he getting a divorce too? I know he's getting a divorce
this morning.
No, oh, okay. I'm
Yeah,
thinking of Bill Slick Willie Clinton's getting a divorce too.
Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, I heard Slick Willie Clinton is getting a divorce with Hill Dog. That's what I heard this morning.
Oh, if that's true, I have not seen any reports on it, so I don't know.
Okay, I'm just opening up. See, vaccine passports could unlock the world travel. Canada's vaccine certificate faces science privacy hurdles. So yeah, they're pushing this real hard. So if you're living up in Canada, I mean people living outside of Canada that need to come in for entry for business, there you go. That's what's going to kill you right there. Canada will require using a vaccine passport for entry.
Yeah, well, one of my close friends here in this country is a naturopath who has suggested several different remedies for different situations that I've had, and he's been bang on every time.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I had a problem. I'm 73 now, but for almost 4 years ago, I had a problem with my prostate. I had a pretty high PSA, and he suggested a very simple solution for me involving DMSO, and it worked. And then he also suggested some dietary changes for me to bring my PSA down, and my PSA now is fine. And then when the scamdemic hit last year, he suggested that I use chlorine dioxide, which I took with a grain of salt to begin with, but then I spoke to several other people who were using it. And I'll give you just an anecdote on my first experience with chlorine dioxide here. I first took it back in about the middle of October of last year, so getting on almost 6 months ago. And the first night that I used it, I went to bed with a sore throat and yellow mucus congestion in my chest. Now, those are not COVID symptoms, but I was under the weather. I took the chlorine dioxide. I took about 8 milliliters in a glass of water, and went to bed. I woke up in the morning, the sore throat and the congestion were gone. And I know of cases here through my golf club, people with COVID who took at the suggestion of our naturopath friend, took the chlorine dioxide, and in a day or two they were fine. But then I look around in Canada and see that I haven't been able to find a source. But one thing that I think Canadians can get a homeopathic remedy for this, and that would be the use of 35% food grade peroxide to put drops of it in distilled water. So you start with three drops 3 times a day, and then 4 drops 3 times a day, and go all the way up to 25 drops 3 times a day, and then to 24 and 23 and so on, back down to 3 drops 3 times a day. And I know of a case in Canada, can't name him, of course, a friend of mine whose daughter-in-law is a frontline healthcare nurse. She got sick with the COVID, and she jumped on that protocol right away, and she was fine in 2 days.
Yeah.
So there are very simple remedies. Ivermectin. If people use ivermectin, nobody is getting sick with ivermectin. I think maybe some time ago, Mike, I sent to you a link on a radio interview that was done by Colombian radio with.
I saw that. I remember. Yes.
Yeah, Dr. Hector Caravaggio in Buenos Aires, who did a control study with 1,200 people in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, in the capital, healthcare workers, frontline in the trenches type of healthcare workers. 800 of them he prophylaxed with ivermectin, and 400 were given nothing. Of the 800 who were given ivermectin, nobody got sick. Not a single person. No side effects, no nothing.
Right.
Of the 400 who were
Whoa, they're knocking down statues.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, in Bogota here. Yeah. So the country is pretty much on shutdown there. This is Lawrence live in Colombia. Giving us an update. So people joining us, store shelves are becoming empty. In his little town, they're slightly empty. And but in the major cities, I'm getting emails now from people and messages live from people in Spanish telling me directly in Colombia about the protests. And we got Javier Fuegos here, who's messaging me saying, blah, 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 it's in Spanish. Hola, Mike. Buenas tardes. No tenemos muchos problemas aquí. Dentro. So in a small town that he's in, outside of Bogota, they could smell the burning smoke. They're about 40 minutes away from the capital. He's saying that they're burning vehicles and stuff, and also people are mass exodusing the major cities and moving into the smaller towns to stay with family.
Yep, that happens a lot. Just let me finish my story about that guy in Buenos Aires, that doctor.
Sure.
400 of the 400 people in the study were not given any prophylaxis at all. And of those 400 people, 237 got sick. Of the 800 who were given ivermectin, nobody got sick.
Okay.
So that to me is pretty persuasive evidence.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So was Colombia in lockdown at all, or was it just kind of?
Yes, they've had the term in Spanish is toque de queda, y ley seca, which means literally translated a requirement to stay or a curfew. Okay, toque de queda, and ley seca, which means a dry law, no booze, and.
But I heard there's speakeasies all over Colombia when they do this.
Oh yeah, well they announce things like that, and people here find ways around them. I mean, I don't participate in that world. I can't say that I never drink, but I hardly ever touch it. So I'm not part of that world. If people want to go drink somewhere, you go ahead. I'm not going to be a part of it. So it's I might have a glass of wine every 2 months, but I hardly drink at all. So. And I'm not, if they want to live that way, they're not doing it because I told them to, and they're not going to stop if I tell them to stop. So I'll live and let live. Just let me live mine.
That's right, Lawrence. All right, guys, just to update people that are joining the channel on this information, important live protest. We are starting to see empty shelves in Colombia. People are pouring in with messages from Colombia, which is really nice to get word on the ground from Colombia, and Lawrence is in Colombia. So here it is. Here's some headlines right now that are developing in Colombia. 19 are killed in pandemic-related protests. They're always going to throw pandemic in there no matter what to show the world, look how unsettled the world is. This COVID is destroying countries. And we go into Colombia protests stretching to 7 days as UN condemns police violence. And apparently they could smell burning and vehicles burning in other towns over. Anger over the tax plan. Protests began after Colombia's government proposed a tax plan raising $6.7 billion US to pay the country's debt and maintain basic income scheme for the 3 million low-income people that started during the pandemic. So I guess the government's been paying people to stay home in Colombia.
Yeah, that may be. Again, I'm kind of living my own little bubble here. I live on my Canadian pension, and I just go about my business and mind my own business, and I don't listen to the news here or there. If I'm going to look for news somewhere, I look on Rumble or YouTube. Because anything you get on television is just pure crap anyway. So, yeah.
Well, it looks like there's buses on fire here. Buses on fire. Colombia's president withdrawing tax reforms after mass protests. Too bad that didn't work in Canada. Well, you know what? Nobody stands up and protests in Canada.
Yeah, and I say good on the Colombians for not putting up with that crap. Canadians, you know something? I don't know if there are many Canadians listening, but and I'm sure that any Canadians that would be listening to this would probably agree with me anyway. But the sad thing is that most Canadians are retarded. They think, I guess, a lot of girls think that Justin is cute or something. I don't know what goes through somebody's mind to vote for for a potato head like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, nothing I can do about it from here. So,
Yeah, well, there's nothing. Well, you're doing what you do, right? You left Canada, you went to Colombia, and this is Javier Ordenes. What happened here? I'm just watching. The police are taking down some guy, pinned to the ground, and he pleads police to stop. His family say police then beat him in custody.
yeah, well, listen, the police are human beings too.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and it's very, very frustrating for them. And anybody who wants to be unduly critical of the police should get on the front lines and help them.
Mm-hmm.
Take the same risks that the police do. Okay. So it's easy to virtue signal when you're not putting yourself at risk in any way.
Someone's asking in the comments how long you've been living in Colombia.
Well, until last year, I was doing basically 6 months in Canada and 6 months here.
Mm-hmm.
But with all the travel problems and going back last year, I just stayed here. I wasn't going to unduly inconvenience myself. Mm-hmm. And now, for me to go back to Canada, I'd have to inject myself with poison, an experimental poison, to go back. I might ask for political asylum down here or something. I'm in the process of renewing my visa. Mm-hmm. Expires in September, and I got some things to do to get done. I hope I can get them done, and I can foresee the very strong possibility of there being bureaucratic delays and hang-ups and very slow processes here that may prevent me from getting it done, to say nothing of the Canadian bureaucracy, where I have to get information on my pension income to support my application here, and that's a process too. Just getting Service Canada to answer a letter is a painful process there. Yeah. So I don't know how this is going to be, but.
So Lawrence, so people joining us right now, got a lot of people joining us right now. Lawrence received an email from notice from the Canadian Embassy in Bogota, nationwide strike day, May 5th, 2021. So basically, he received an email saying, following calls from major labor union, thousands of protesters have been taken to the streets of major Colombian cities since April 28th. A new national strike has called for May 5th. So the demonstrations are likely to continue. Okay, we got Adriana Lewis sending me a message here on Skype and saying basically, yes, Mike, this is correct. I live 11 to 15 minutes outside of Bogota off the main highway, and there's smoke in the air in the day and there's burning at night. They are really pushing hard, and people have not yielded or retracted. Any of the protesting has gotten even stronger after police openly shooting protesters on the street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not surprised that that's happened. As I think, and just for those who just come online and may be listening and may not have heard all of what I said, in my case, I'm in a small rural farm town in the northern part of the department of Valle del Cauca, the Valley of the Cauca River, and it's basically just an agricultural town, and we have a comfortable apartment where I don't need air conditioning and I don't need central heat, and it's spacious and it's quiet, and I'm not out there in the mixture of all of this stuff. And so far, the shortage of food here has not yet a crisis. We're still able to get enough in the way of local produce around here to survive, and I don't know if that's going to continue forever. What may happen is that people may come from the city to here to look for that kind of thing, but from what I understand, they can't even get fuel from their cars to come
Yeah,
here.
there's fuels, there's gas station closures. I'm getting photos that are being sent to me here. Gas station closures in Colombia. There's food closures. To the supermercados. Those supermercados, it's saying here, closed in Bogota, didn't open in the last 2 days now. So there's a lot of empty shelves and a lot. You're hearing it first, guys, here on Mike, a special emergency Mike in the Night broadcast with Lawrence here live in Colombia. And this is going to get a lot because you got your neighbor there to the, okay, Colombia, your neighbor to the left, your neighbor to the left is Venezuela, right? Yeah.
Well, to the east of here, yes, that's right.
Yeah,
yes.
to the left. I say just kind of look, yeah. And Venezuela is still it's not nowhere near normal, and it's the super hyperinflation, and empty food on the shelving and stuff. So it says here at least 540 police officers have been hurt during the demonstrations, according to the national police, while more than 100 buses have been vandalized or burned. The police say they have also identified nearly 17,000 people who are not complying with public health measures like wearing masks.
Well, that's a scam too. I mean, that actually you do more, in my opinion, so I'm not speaking as an expert here, but in my opinion, you actually do harm to yourself by wearing a mask because you're reducing your oxygen intake. And the best defense you have against any viral illness is to maximize your oxygen intake. Just my opinion, you understand. I'm not an expert on it, but
can we go over really quickly what you were telling me earlier when we were just talking before we started the show? You said that there is food distribution or something is shut down or distribution into the cities from the truck drivers?
Well, from what I understand, and just hearsay, I don't watch the news, but people around here have told me that the truck drivers have united themselves with the protesters.
So truck drivers have united with the protesters. So there's no flow of goods going into the stores, or
that's right. Certainly nothing coming into here. We can't even enter and exit this town because the entry and exits are blocked. There's nothing being distributed.
Well, very shocking. I know, it's South America, but Colombia's somewhat a semi, you wouldn't go there 6 months of the year if it was a dangerous place to go to, right? So,
well, yeah, I mean, if you want to look in normal circumstances, if you want to find trouble, you can find trouble if you look for it here. Mm-hmm. But you can, in normal circumstances, if you have a Canadian pension income and if you can speak a little bit of the language, which I do, I can. Yo puedo defenderme, okay. And if you have any kind of modest pension income here, you can have in normal circumstances, you can have a much better life here than you can in Canada. In normal circumstances, the food is fresher and better, the weather is better, the medical care is better, mm-hmm. the intercity transportation is better. You have, out of here in normal circumstances, we have a bus that leaves every half hour. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to book a bus. You just go down, and if you miss one, you get the next one a half hour later. They're minivan or large minivans types of buses, and to go to the next town, it cost me $1.25. Okay, so it's medical care here is you don't wait in line like you do in Canada. If you want to see a specialist, you see one right away. It's much better medical care situation than here. The weather is better. So if you just mind your own business and live your own life in normal circumstances, it's much better for a retiree here. But I don't think circumstances are normal anywhere. So where things to me sound so crazy in Canada that even in these circumstances, I'm maybe I'm wrong, but I think I'm better off here.
Okay, so somebody in the comments said the FMI, they were true. Somebody in the comments actually brought this up before this whole thing, before I got into this. I'm actually looking at El Espectador, the newspaper from Colombia, and it says FMI alerta de posible guerra comercial si no hay acuerdo fiscal global. So basically, there might be they're alerting of war, commercial war, if there's no a physical stimulus.
Yeah, I can see why people would want that here. A lot of people have suffered. I think, just as an example, before the pandemic came down, I was a member of a golf club that actually I'm still a member. I don't go there as much as I used to, but as a member of this club, I had a privilege called canje, which translates as trade. In the context of golf, it means club link, and it enabled me to travel to different golf clubs around the country, which I was doing. And I remember not too long before the pandemic, I think about Christmas of 2019, I was playing golf in Cali, and I used a caddy at one of the clubs there and got along with him really well and gave him a nice tip. And then the pandemic came down, and these clubs sent the caddies home. These poor guys are starving to death. I mean, and he would phone me up and say, can you please send me some money? I want to eat. And I did send the guy some money. I think I sent him about 400,000 pesos, which is at that time was about $180, something like that. And it enabled him to eat for a few days, and then I think I sent him some more after that. Then things opened up again, and they were able to go back to work. But it was really, really tough sledding for people who were not on fixed incomes.
We got William C. in the saying hashtag SOS Colombia, and then he says help, and then William C. saying they are killing us. Hashtag SOS Colombia.
Yeah, well. I don't doubt that it's happening. If it is happening, it's far away from where I am at the moment. That's not to say that it won't come here, but well, we'll just have to wait and see. I wouldn't be surprised.
We got some good news.
What's that?
Vandals attack mainstream media, the periódico. So it looks like they're taking the right spots here. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't approve of any of that.
Well, I don't neither do I, but I'm saying at least they're awake and they know what the problem is. The problem we're dealing with in Canada is our mainstream media is poison here, and it's not telling both sides of the story.
And the sheeple in Canada are so brainwashed that they believe it. I mean, think back, and I don't know how many people I have online listening, but I'm going to just express a thought here.
We got the real, hold on a sec, Lawrence, 1 second. We got the real Black Pill, says, greetings, I'm in Bogota. Add me on Skype, Mike Martins 1980, Mike, MikeMartins 1980. Add me on Skype, and we try and get you on the show if you want to come on, the real Black Pill. Let us know what's happening in Colombia. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Yeah, just a thought, and again, I'm giving an opinion. I think, quite honestly, anybody's first line of defense, going right back to day one of this pandemic, anybody's sensible first line of defense is not to believe a darn thing that the media tells you. Nothing. Okay? And then ask yourself this question. Does the pharmaceutical industry want us to be healthy?
Well,
healthy people don't use their crap. I don't think the pharmaceutical industry wants us to be healthy any more than a heroin dealer wants his junkies to kick their habit. So that's your first line of defense. Just dismiss everything you hear as BS, and then make your own independent choices as to what's best for you. And don't believe anything that's in the media. Don't believe the newspapers. Don't believe your school teachers, because they're on most of them are on the government nipple too.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do after that, I think, is the individual choice of everybody. But the first thing they should do is not believe a thing that comes out of the media.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
Okay, that's very good sound advice, because we like to question things. We like to find out what's going on, and so now. Yeah, this is pretty. It's got to kind of hurt when you're you got. They're not asking us what we want to do. They're not asking us if this is a good choice. They automatically think this is the best for us. So if we go back to the community on the page, guys, it's right here. Now, Lawrence right now, who's in Colombia, it's basically now Canada will require using a vaccine passport for entry. And this is disgusting, especially for people like on the American side that need to come here for business, or people traveling, or even okay, Lawrence, what if you have to do a stopover in Canada?
Well, yeah, we can only speculate as to what would be involved there. As things stand now, if I want to go back to Canada, I would have to do a 3-day hotel stay in a government-approved hotel. I mean, these sound like what, detention camps? They sound like internment camps. And I hear stories. I don't know if they're true, but I hear stories that the hotels that are approved belong to Trudeau's Chinese friends. I don't know if that story is true, but
Well, a majority of a good percentage of our hotels were bought up in 2017 and 18 by the Chinese Communist Party. They bought up a good percentage of our old folks' homes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then okay. All the more reason why I think perhaps I should just stay right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm very disappointed in what's happening, Lawrence. I'm very disappointed. At least the Colombians are standing up to it, but they are using live rounds in Colombia, and that's an issue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and the police. I mean, they're in a tough spot. I'm not going to judge them because I haven't walked a mile in their shoes. You see, and it's a tough call for them. Yeah.
All right, Lawrence. We've been talking for an hour. I want to thank you for calling in, coming on this.
Is it that long already?
We've been 57 minutes together, talking live for 57 minutes.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'm not tuned into YouTube at the moment. I'll be able to catch this and hear it later, I assume, right?
Yeah. It'll be up later. It'll be up thing. So we just want to let people know that we do not give medical advice out, because YouTube hates that. Anyone giving out medical advice on YouTube, they hate it very much. So we're just letting people know this is just opinion based only.
Oh yes, opinion. That's all.
It's an opinion. Forming an opinion. Yeah.
That's right. All I can do is tell you what I've done, and it's been very successful. I'm not the least bit scared of any virus. I'm much more scared of government stupidity than I am of any virus.
That makes actual perfect sense. All right, Lawrence, be safe down there. We're going to keep you on the pulse. You keep us on the pulse. If the store shelves start getting more empty there in Colombia, please let us know what's going on. Please keep your eyes and ears open and grasp the knowledge from the whole country so we can find out what's going on down there in South America.
Yeah, I think we're going into a new era. I don't think there are going to be there's not going to be any tourists coming down here. Just before I let you go, there's an island off the coast of Nicaragua called San Andres Island, which a lot of Canadians may not have heard about, but it's Colombian territory. But what a lot of Canadians don't realize is that the local language is English. Oh. And it has been for many, many years a very popular tourist spot where Air Transat has been flying down directly there from Montreal and Toronto for years, and they've been calling it January, February, and March. In the past, they called it La Temporada Canadiense, the Canadian season. Well, this year, of course, it didn't come, and I've been told that the economy in San Andres has just fallen apart, and they had a hurricane this year too. So, or at least late last year. So they've been hit really hard, and so yeah, it's. I think it's very, very possible that I'll never go back to Canada, or that if circumstances force me to go back, that I'll never be able to come back here.
Wow.
Which should be, yeah, it's entirely possible.
All right, Lawrence, let's stay in touch with you, and you could be our correspondent there on the ground in Colombia. I appreciate it.
You have a good evening.
God bless
you. Everybody, thank you, and everybody who's listening, you all stay safe and take care.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. All right, that is Lawrence, who is down in Colombia. So he's facing in a small town. The store shelves are starting to get empty in a small town, 2.5 hours away from the next biggest city. Right now, I'm getting messages from people in Bogota. It's in Spanish. I'm reading it and just translating it over to English to tell you guys what they're telling me. Sorry, guys, the sun is just blasting in my window here. It's still, the sun's still high in the sky, so we got a couple of hours of sunlight left here. But, yeah, I wanted to do an emergency broadcast to let you guys know. Guys, this is important because now we're seeing empty store shelves in the major cities. We're starting to see some sort of a military movement here. They're using live rounds. 14 people died already. That's what they've told us. And there's all kinds. Ata Ugrusoy is saying, this is the Braveheart moment. We die a free man or die as a slave. I will pray for Colombians, says Lord Humongous. Lord Humongous got his dirt bike t-shirt in the mail today. I'm going to wear mine tomorrow. Lawrence of Arabia. No. He's Lawrence of Colombia. We got Irenia Romero. Says SOS Colombia, SOS Colombia, SOS Colombia. And that's the hashtag SOS Colombia that's going out right now. And I wanted to cover this because this is going to start spreading. You're going to start to see a lot of political unrest. You've seen some in Brazil, but it's going to get worse. Chile. This was happening all before the stupid pandemic kicked off. The whole world was in protest. We had Chile, we had Uruguay, we had Brazil, we had Colombia, we had Argentina, and then we had parts of Mexico, we had parts of America, we had the Gilets Jaunes in France protesting. We had the in Hong Kong. We had the protests in Hong Kong. In Libya, there were protests. There was protests in Afghanistan. There was protests in Lebanon. There was protests in Russia. There was some protests in Australia and New Zealand, but that was more about affordable housing. But this is before the pandemic. The whole world was in protest. Don't forget Hong Kong was in protest. The whole world was in protest. But conveniently, the COVID showed up and sneaked itself in. And my prayers go down for all the people down in Colombia and the major cities there that are dealing with this major, major issue that they're dealing with down there. I really hope to God that the governance people are starting to see and lose confidence in their governments. And guys, you're seeing firsthand what happens when you start to lose confidence in your governments. And it's getting really bad. The IMF looks like it wants to lend some money to Colombia to impoverish the country and basically own the country. That's what they usually do with these big banks. Usually lend the money to the countries and then obviously don't expect for them to pay it back ever. They just expect the people to just basically take on more austerity, more cuts, more for less. You get more for less in Colombia. That's what it is. You work more, you get less. Sorry, guys, about the sun blasting in my window here. But I wanted to share this with you guys and get this out there. And for people living in Canada, I'm really sorry to have to bring this to you. So a lot Maple is saying, SOS Colombia, I'm on the street right now. They're shooting at us. says a lot Maple. And you're welcome to add me on Skype, people down in Colombia. Mike Martins, 1980, MikeMartins, 1980. You could add me on Skype. Yo hablo español. I speak Spanish too, so there's no big deal. And I speak Portuguese. Portuguese is my first language. Oh, yeah. All right, so what else is going on? So I just wanted to do a quick emergency stream for you guys. That's all. And one last thing for Canadians. Guys, pay attention to this if you haven't been checking. Canada will require using a vaccine passport for entry. This is by the New York Times, and they're saying that a good percentage of Canadians approve of this. I don't know. I don't approve of this, so I don't know who the good percentage of Canadians approve of. I don't know who these guys are. So I don't know. I don't know anyone that's. But I know some people in my town that for sure would want people to have. Obviously be fully inoculated to come into the country. I know some people in my town that would want that, right? And then I think I asked you guys a question here. Yeah. Which leader is doing a terrible job? Get on to the vote. 385 votes, guys. Joe Biden, 31%. Justin Trudeau, Canada, 51%. Scotty Morrison down in Australia, 7%. Jacinta Ardern in New Zealand, 5%. And Boris Johnson in England, 5%. That's what everybody's... have you taken the jab yet? 8% say, why? Yes, of course. And I had to for work, 2%. Now I'll pass 72%. And I will, after 5 years of testing, 18%. Then it says, wow, looks like Canada might not open its border with the U.S. until late 2023. Why are we being kept in? 13% is brain drain of professionals leaving the country. 16% says capital flight escaping. 61% says sell home for $2 million, buy one in Texas for $280. And other, please comment below. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there. Anyways, that's my Colombia coverage for today, guys. I really appreciate you guys joining. Guys, don't forget to add me, if you can, please add me on Instagram. My Instagram's here in the live chat. Please go ahead and add me on Instagram. It looks like we're going to have a little bit of a rude awakening once it kicks off in North America. I think you're going to see a lot of people losing confidence in their governments. So we'll see what happens with that. And I'm very interested to see what they do to how they fix this without massive civil unrest. Could the civil unrest be purposely engineered so they get people to get out there and start doing protesting, and this would allow people to this will allow them a reason to have a military presence or to initialize martial law. That is the question. King Cash UT, we should get him on our show. He's got a YouTube channel, King Cash YouTube, guys. He's in the comments right now. Thanks, Mike. That was an important update, says Ann Sampson. Yes, it's in Colombia now, guys. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Guys, take care, and if you can't take care, please stay safe.